YouTube! We're back with another episode of What the Hell Am I Doing? This week, we're here with an episode of Champ's Product Reviews. A little bit different. Haven't done this in a while. It's not the new review I was teasing for a couple of weeks. I just found out today that's actually going to probably be delayed till sometime next month. The company ran out of the product. So, unfortunately, that one's going to have to be delayed, but I'm still looking forward to doing that one, and I will get that one out as soon as I can get the product. But today, we're doing the long-awaited, the long-teased Instant Pot review, and I do deliver when I promise things for a long time. That's right, and if you guys listen to my tunes, that means that record is coming. So, just because it's been a few years of it's coming doesn't mean it isn't. I've released things slowly, and I said I was going to do that at a slow pace, and I was going to release things for a bit, and I would eventually release the whole thing. So that is coming, just like this review was coming, and it is now here. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit the like button. Everybody's got to hit the like button. There's no reason not to. It's free. Comment. I want to hear from all of you, not just the same people. I love those people, but everybody's watching and not saying stuff. You know, tell me what you think of the video. Tell me what you'd like to see. If you want to hear my thoughts on something or a review on something, tell me what you want me to review. We're going to see if we can get Dustin Poirier's hot sauce in the future. I know Pierre wants me to drink a whole bottle. We'll see. I don't really like the idea of that, but, you know, Pierre's having rough times, so maybe I'll do it for him. You know, I want to review some Hertberry sauces. They've got a ton of new sauces I want to review. You know, things have been tight, so I haven't been spending money on this because, you know, uncertainty kind of sucks. And I'd rather, you know, have money put aside than blowing it right now. But that being said, I do want to get some new stuff, and I have been working through my collection to get new stuff. But none of that is important right now. You know, those shows will happen when they happen, as they happen. But today it's the Instant Pot review. And I've been teasing this since around Christmas. I thought it would be a good idea. And I've been going through my phone, getting some pictures that I've taken of some of the meals I've made. And, you know, I was thinking of a few ways to do this video. And instead of just doing a compilation of stuff that I'd photographed over the last year and a half, I figured I'd show you some pictures, and I do a demonstration, and I give you guys my thoughts on this machine. So what is the Instant Pot? I didn't know what it was. Christmas 2019, I got it from my mom, and she was asking me in the lead up to Christmas if I wanted one. I said, I don't know what an Instant Pot is. And she was trying to tell me, and she couldn't. And I kept saying, is it a slow cooker? Because I already have a crock pot. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, what is it? And she told me it's like a device like the crock pot kind of, and blah, 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 blah. And it just kept kind of going back and forth, and I really didn't understand what the hell it was. And then I got it for Christmas, and, you know, I took it home, and it's a multi-use device. It can be a crock pot, although it doesn't act as a crock pot as well as a real crock pot does. It can be like a pot or a pan, and then you can use it as a pressure cooker afterwards, or you can just use it as a pressure cooker. You can use it as a sterilization machine. It's a multi-purpose machine, but its main two purposes is that you could either use the pot inside like a grill or a pot or a pan on the stove, or you can put the lid on it and use it like a pressure cooker, or you can do a combination of both. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I'm a single male. I'm a bachelor. And I live the bachelor lifestyle. I don't really eat to impress myself, although I do like cooking good meals once in a while. So I try to cook a nice meal every Sunday that's, you know, a little bit of effort and worth it. But for the most part, during the week, you know, I eat for fuel. And I don't want to waste a lot of my time cooking. You know, I go to work all day, I come home, I walk the dog, I do this, I do that. I don't want to spend 2 hours a night cooking. So I like to cook things that last anywhere from 2 to 4 days. That way I don't have to cook every day of the week. So I like making spaghettis and stuff like that, which I normally do on the stove. And before this, it was mainly spaghetti or chili if I was going to make something that was going to last a long time. Now, the Instant Pot has changed that. It's opened up a lot of doors. It's given me a lot of options. And, you know, it allows me to make meals that could be good for one night or 2 nights, and it's allowed me to make meals like the one I did in the demonstration for this video that could last for 4 or 5 days. So it's really great. And not only that, you can make desserts, which I'll show you guys in a few minutes, and you can make yogurt. You can make you can boil eggs. You could do anything. It pretty much, if you didn't have a stove and you didn't have a microwave and you didn't have an oven, but you had an Instant Pot, you could live. You could survive on that. You could make most things with the Instant Pot, believe it or not. You could grill a steak in it if you wanted to. You could throw it in Saute Mode. You could grill a steak on it. You could grill burgers on it. You could saute any kind of vegetables in it. You know, you can make soups in it. You could make chilies in it. You see what I'm getting with here? It does everything. And it does sterilization. If you have a baby, you can sterilize the pacifiers and all their baby stuff that needs to be sterilized. It gets to high enough temperature, and because of the pressure cooking, the pressure abilities, it raises the temperature of things. It can sterilize things and eliminate most dangerous bacteria that needs high temperature to be killed. It doesn't quite reach the highest range of sterilization. I believe the highest range of sterilization is around 240 degrees. But this unit maxed out, I think, around 218 or 225 or something like that. But for, you know, 99% of people's needs sterilization, that's fine. You know, it works great for that. There are other hobbies, like if you were growing mushrooms and you need to sterilize your substrate so you could inject your, you know, oyster mushroom spores or whatever. The substrate would need to be sterilized, and the containers that you would do that in would need to be sterilized. It would work for that. Decarbing, I want to say the full word, but decarboxylation. I can't say the word, I'm not going to. But decarbing, if you guys know what that is, you can do that with this. So like, it does a lot of things, basically. It's, like I said, as a bachelor, this thing is a lifesaver. Aside from my barbecue, I think the thing I use the most to cook now is the Instant Pot. I used to do a lot of stove cooking and oven cooking. I rarely do now. I use my oven maybe once every 5 or 6 weeks. I probably use my barbecue the most, or maybe I use the Instant Pot the most. I don't know. I use it a lot. So yeah, why don't we take a look here at some of the things I've made. You like that little intro of me opening it up? It's pretty cool. That was beef stroganoff there. There's actually 2 ways you can make it. I usually make beef stroganoff in the Instant Pot using ground beef because it's quick. You can, you know, cook, like saute the ground beef first and then throw everything in and pressure cook it. The whole meal takes, you know, about half an hour to make start to finish, but the actual pressure cooking to cook the noodles, 2 minutes. That's insane. And I've also made it with steak cuts, as you can see there in the picture. I've made desserts in this. I've made rice pudding, which unfortunately I didn't take any pictures of. And I know a lot of people say ew, but I like it, so screw you. It's almost as good as the way my mom used to make it. She still makes it. I haven't had it, but it reminds me of the old days. And that's good. I've made cheesecake, and I'm not a dessert guy, okay? Let me get this out there now. If I have dessert, it's bought or someone else made it. I never attempted to make a cake in my life of any kind. And I made a cheesecake in the Instant Pot the first month I had it. And look at that. I mean, looks pretty good, right? Looks pretty good. And it was damn good. It was the best cheesecake I ever had. Most cheesecakes I had, I think, were frozen. I think I've had a couple fresh ones over the years in my life, but they were store-bought. But this thing, I gotta tell you, it was dense, it was creamy, it was good. My mom has made cakes in it, and the cakes are great. They're delicious, they're tasty, they're moist. They're a little bit heavy compared to like a cake out of an oven where that lifts. They're a little bit heavy and dense, but they're so moist and tasty. It's fantastic. It's an amazing device. I can't believe that you can make desserts in it. I can't believe that I made cheesecake. You can also make chili. Obviously, everything makes chili. This one's a little bit different in the way that you have to make chili. The Instant Pot isn't like a crock pot where you can just throw things and stir it. Because of the way it cooks, you have to make sure that the liquidy ingredients are at the bottom, to allow it to build pressure to get into pressure cooking mode. So a lot of ingredients will call for stacking or ordering of ingredients and not stirring, and it's very important you follow those things because of the way the unit works. And if you don't follow those things, you can get burn errors that will prevent you from finishing cooking. And chili is one of those things because you use diced tomatoes, and use tomatoes. They're very starchy, especially when they're cooked. So if you don't do things right, chili can be a problem to cook. But as you can see, I'm the champ. No problem there. Also cooked whole chickens in this thing. I've cooked them fresh and I've cooked them frozen. This one here, this one's frozen. I pulled it out of the freezer. I threw it straight in the Instant Pot. I gave it a quick dose of jerk rub, which, you know, is a great seasoning. I believe it took 28 or 30 minutes pressure cooking, and that chicken was tender and falling off the bone when, like, you gave it a little tug, which is ridiculous. 30 minutes, and I mean, like, it was frozen like a rock before the pressure cooking started. And if you look at the picture there, you can see it's actually splitting apart because it's so well cooked. You could shake the legs and they were pretty much falling off the body. Just insane. So when I cook chicken, you know, I could use the oven, but I usually use the Instant Pot. And now I use the air fryer lid, which I'm going to do in a part 2 review. I'm going to do a review on the air fryer separately. I now do the air fryer afterwards to give it a little bit of a crispy finish. What else have I made? Chicken pesto pasta. So as you can see here, I'm cooking the chicken. That saute function is very important. I'm telling you guys, it does all the pre-cooking, so your meat is ready. And you've finished a lot of meals off of the pressure cooking. But the chicken pesto pasta, same thing. You saute everything, get the chicken pre-cooked, and then you finish the meal off pressure cooking. Look how it turns out. Looks awesome, right? That's right. So, you know, those are all the pictures I've taken of things I've made. But obviously, because it's a pressure cooker, there's a lot of other things you can do. Like I said, my mom's made cakes. You can make cookies or certain kind of desserts like that. You know, you could definitely make like a pound cake or like lemon pound cake. Those are things I tried. Cheesecake was fantastic. I should make it again. It was so unbelievably easy to make. I'm really proud that I did it, and I was really blown away by how good it was. Brisket you could make, like braised brisket. You could probably do that because it's a pressure cooker. I've never made brisket, so that's something I want to try, and one day I will. So maybe I'll make a video of that one day. Another thing, of course, all white people will try is pulled pork. Pulled pork's pretty good, right? Most people like it. It's a safe thing to try. Most people will eat it. I think that was the very first meal I made in this thing, and it took 40 or 45 minutes to make a pulled pork. I wish I took pictures. I didn't. It's the only time I made it. It was amazing. 40 or 45 minutes, and you do natural release, which means you let the pressure release slowly on its own. And that stuff, it was like melt in your mouth. It wasn't just fall off the bone. It was like melt in your mouth meat. It was crazy. And I'll explain the natural release and quick release thing in the demonstration I'm going to do next. Oh, and one last thing that you can make in here that I just thought of right now is broth. A lot of things call for broth when you're cooking rice or pasta in this thing, and broth gives it flavor. So, you know, you can save your chicken bones from the whole chickens that you make. You could save, you know, pieces of vegetables you use, and you can cook all that in this thing and make your own chicken broth, and then save that for cooking more recipes. And the most recent one that I actually made for this demonstration I'm going to show you next, I used my own broth in that one. So, and I made that in the Instant Pot. So it's pretty cool. So I'm not going to keep rambling on and showing you guys pictures. Why don't we cut back to, I guess, Wednesday night it was. And I'm going to give you a quick run through of a recipe that I tried for the first time, which is a cheeseburger rice Instant Pot recipe, and it was good. I actually finished it today, so if I didn't finish it today as lunch, it would have lasted at least 4 days for dinner. 4 or 5 days, depending on how much I ate. So that's pretty insane. So why don't we cut to Wednesday night now, where I show you guys what it's like to cook with the Instant Pot, and I show you the various functions and how it works, start to finish. All right, what's cracking? We're gonna do a quick demonstration. I figured, you know, if we're gonna do a review of the Instant Pot, the best way to show some of the things that it does is to actually show them. This is the ultimate bachelor's tool. If you want to be a champ like me and eat like a champ and save money and make things that can last for a few days and eat like a king, basically, I think this thing is the ultimate tool. Hell, you can cook an entire meal in this in multiple stages, and there are even lids that go on top. This thing is the ultimate accessory thing too. There are even lids that go on top. So you can just put it in the fridge afterwards. So you have to clean nothing except for maybe this, my processor that I chop at the garlic and onion. So I'm going to put that in and get that sauteing. So this is the Saute mode. And this is what's great about this thing. So Saute mode's like using a frying pan on the oven. You're making spaghetti, making a spaghetti sauce, making chili or something. You know, if you do it the traditional way, you're going to be using multiple pots and pans, or you're going to be doing something in a pot and a pan, or a couple of pans and then putting it in a slow cooker. You know, that's the traditional way of doing it, no matter how you've learned how to do it. And so you usually have multiple things you need to clean up. But when you do something like that with the Instant Pot, you can do it all in the same pot that you start with, and it saves time. This is the fastest thing I've ever cooked with, but it also saves time in terms of cleanup. I hate cleanup. I'm a bachelor. I don't want to waste time cooking or cleaning. I just want to have food that I can eat. So I like to make delicious things that last for multiple days. And pressure cooker, or this thing, and old school slow cookers are how I've been doing it. I've even made spaghetti in this by mistake once. Which is kind of funny because I'm so used to using this. I use this every week pretty much, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. I used it so much that I cooked spaghetti in it by mistake one day, and it still turned out well. The only thing I didn't do in here was the actual spaghetti. I cooked my sauce in here by mistake. But yeah, as you can see, Saute mode, it's like frying pan. So what I'm doing now is I'm cooking my garlic and onion. I'm making cheeseburger rice. This is a recipe for the Instant Pot. I've never tried it before, so I figured it'd be a good demonstration thing to do for a first time. So I like to, you know, when you're doing something like this and you're cooking ground beef, it's good to saute the vegetables possibly before or with the beef, depending how you like to do it. And this saves a step right here, because I'm not doing it on the stove. I'm not creating more of a mess to have to wash a pan and a spatula. You know, I've got the one tool that came with the Instant Pot, and I'm cooking everything in here. And I'm just going to go grab the ground beef, and we'll throw her in. So the thing I like about the Instant Pot is the recipes are pretty easy to double. If you're a single guy and you want to have food to eat for multiple days, and some of these recipes aren't big enough for multiple days, so it's easy to double this. Pretty much every recipe I've tried so far, and you know, it lasts for days. It's great. So I'm going to keep throwing the ground beef in here, because I like to season the beef. Anytime I'm doing a recipe with garlic and onion, I like to cook those with the beef, even if they say not to. Reason being is the beef picks up the flavor more. This recipe calls for a pound. I just threw in just under 2 pounds. So yeah, now so this mode here, saute, it's just like a frying pan, like I've mentioned a couple times. So you know, you just put everything in there like normal. And it's going to cook. going to give away all my ground beef cooking tips. Anything that uses beef and garlic and onions, I tend to cook my base the same way, whether it's chili, spaghetti. If I do beef stroganoff, sometimes I cheat and use actual ground beef. It's quicker and it's still pretty damn good. And beef stroganoff is an amazing recipe for this too. It literally takes 2 minutes of cooking after you saute, which is crazy. But don't be fooled by the cook times you see in these guides though. It may say 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and it may, you know, say half an hour for prep time, and that's more accurate because you have to factor in the time when you're processing or, you know, chopping whatever you're putting in. You also have to factor the warm-up time that it takes when it actually goes into pressure cook, because a lot, you know, any recipe that starts with saute, it ultimately is going to end up with pressure cooking unless you're just using it like a frying pan. Like, you know, this recipe here will end up doing a pressure cook afterwards. But we're doing the beef prep first. Like I said, this is saving things that I don't have to do later. I don't have to wash any of this crap, because what I'm doing here will just get dumped on top of afterwards. That's the beauty of this machine. And the recipes, literally, you have to follow them to a T, because some ingredients need to be stacked in order to cook properly, or else you have burn problems, which can suck. Another thing is when you cook anything like this in the beginning, you see the bottom of the pan there, you gotta make sure that you don't get anything burnt to the bottom, because the burn sensors will detect a hot spot and it will not get into pressure cook mode later. So even when stuff does get stuck to the bottom, once it cooks fully, it tends to pick up with what you're cooking. And if it doesn't, then you can, you know, either empty it out and wash it off real quick, or you can use a spatula and scrape around, and you can free a lot of that up. And usually when you add broth or something, it's easier to clean off too. But I'll show you later that it comes off if there's anything there. Alright, I think things are just about cooked here in terms of the ground beef being ready. Just going to give her a quick stir and quick check. It's hard to tell with the steam and the light. Yeah, believe it or not, the light's making it hard to tell. Yeah, I think we're looking good. Okay, so this is the end of what I would call the saute phase of this. So, okay, so just consider this right here, lazy people. Frying pan and spatula, other than this thing, doesn't need to be cleaned. Okay, so we're going to shut this off from saute mode. And the next thing I'm going to show you before I add anything else is how to make sure there's no stuff stuck to the bottom. Okay, so before I add the broth, it's a good idea to take a quick look for anything stuck, any signs of burnt stuff stuck to the bottom. You know, it usually happens in the outer ring here. So, you know, you kind of just pick the thing up a bit, rotate it, and just check it. This is also a good opportunity if you want to drain your fat, to drain the fat. The top of the pot is relatively cool to handle after sauteing. I would not recommend touching the top of the pot after pressure cook. And yeah, it looks like the inside's completely clean, so we're good. I don't have to deglaze, but if there was stuff burned on here, you know, you'd have to kind of just move stuff around like this or scrape it with this. It comes off relatively easy, and what's a little more stubborn usually comes off when you add a little broth. But if it doesn't come off, just dump it out, give her a quick wipe down, and then put everything back in. It's also a good idea to get a spare one of these liners for this. I got one for Christmas, and I gotta say, it's great to have one. You can have something in the fridge and you can still cook something else for dessert or another meal for another day, or sterilize things. This thing does so many things. Okay, so this stage's done. I'm going to drain the fat, and I'm going to show you guys how to do the pressure cooking stage. Okay, so now that we've sauteed the ground beef and it's ready, it's cooked, it's safe to do the next stage here. In a lot of recipes, like the one I'm about to follow here, it's very important to follow the recipe down to a T. If these recipes don't tell you the things in the right order, then they're not good recipes. Starchy foods can cause burn issues in these, and that can cause all sorts of issues finishing the cooking process. Something that uses tomatoes or sliced tomatoes or something like what I'm going to do today with rice, potential trouble. So it's very important to make sure you follow things correctly, to get your ratios correct if you're doubling or whatever. And it's mostly important not to stir things. Like I am going to stack things in this recipe. So the first thing I have to do is I have to start. I just splattered everywhere, I'm sure you guys saw. I have to add broth, and I have to add water. Water and broth are always important to anything you do in the Instant Pot, especially when it comes to the pressure cooking. So you need at least a cup of water or broth to do any pressure cooking in any recipe. Of course, and if you're going larger, you have to sometimes account for that. Sometimes it doesn't matter, depending on the size of the Instant Pot. There are variations. You have to know what you're using to make the right adjustments. All right, so I'm going to add broth, and I'm going to add water. And because we deglazed already, I don't have to worry about that. We already checked to see if anything was stuck. Nothing was. And by the way, this was broth that I made in the Instant Pot from the chicken bones that I saved from a whole chicken that I cooked in here. Okay, so we've got the water, and we've got the broth that I needed to add. I'm getting a little nervous that this recipe is going to be a little big. You can't go past a certain point in this thing. It's up here. Max line's up here, so I still have a little bit to go. Some freshly ground pepper. Some freshly ground sea salt. I tend to cut back on the salt from what the recipes call for. I don't think you need to have crazy amounts of salt in food for it to taste good. So then it says to stir everything up. That's important at this stage. You want all the spices or peppers or whatever to mix in once you got it all in there. Okay, so now everything's kind of stirred around. Okay, so now it says the rice has to go in. So I'm going to have to wash the Pyrex, but if you're really lazy, you could just throw it in the dishwasher. So far I have the Pyrex and this stirring thing to wash afterwards. Everything else I'm just going to throw in the fridge. Okay, so it says just submerge it. I might have just stirred it a little bit, but I'm just flattening it out. I did not dig down. Okay, so that's good. And we're still below the full line. I have to add something else. And we got 2 cans of cream of bacon soup. And we are to that max line. So from here, we throw the lid on. And here's an important thing you need to know. Well, you're dumb if you don't. But when you pressure cook, there's a vent up here. So you have to make sure it's sealed. Like this. Putting down at about 7 o'clock is the release mode. So you want to turn it here to about 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And when it's in that mode, it's sealed. And all we do is set this thing and we let it cook. Okay, and this recipe calls for 7 minutes pressure cooking. So, whoops. Hitting the wrong button. I'm not looking at the right screen. I'm looking at, looking at my phone. Okay, 7 minutes. Usually you turn the keep warm off. Some people use that as a timer for the natural release. I don't. Okay, so 7 minutes pressure cook, keep warm off, and it's going to start. We'll see you guys when it's done pressure cooking. We're getting up to pressure almost. The pin is still down here. You can see the steam's coming out, but when this thing is getting close to pressure, that pin will pop up, and eventually the steam will seal in, and it will continue to build pressure to the point where it should start pressure cooking. There you go. The pin is up. She's sealed. She's going to continue to build pressure for the next couple of minutes, and then she's going to start the final stages of cooking. There we go. No burn notice. And now we got 7 minutes of pressure cooking, and then I'll show you what happens next. Oh, and she's all done. Okay, and this is it. The 7 minutes of pressure cooking is over, and this officially ends the cook, and now the moment of truth is going to happen. Did we do this right? So we're going to do a quick release. Some recipes will call for quick release, some will call for natural release. The difference is natural release, you leave it sealed like this and just allow for time to allow the pressure inside to drop. Sometimes I can take 20 minutes, sometimes I can take an hour. It depends how full it is, depends what you made. In this recipe, it says it calls for quick release. So in that case, what you do is you're going to slide this over to vent mode. And you have to be careful sometimes, because stuff, depending what's in there, stuff can fly out and go flying all over your ceiling. So it's a good idea to slowly let off the pressure until you know it's safe. So that's what I'm going to do here. See that right away, a little spurt. So we'll see how that goes for a second here. So what I like to do in this case, when I know it's going to go flying, is I find a point where it's not really splattering too much. And I'll give it a minute or two to let a lot of the pressure off before I open it up all the way. And then it'll avoid a lot of cleaning up. Sounds like it's starting to change pressure-wise, so see if I can open it up a bit more. Yeah, see, that's a bit more of a release now. Still a little bit of the occasional spatter, but I don't care about that. It's when it's flying everywhere. And with certain recipes, you do want to hurry up with the quick release, because things like rice and thin spaghetti can get mushy real quick. Open her up a bit more. I tell you, it smells real good. It smells real nice in here. And when it's full tilt like this, that means we're almost there. Okay, she's open all the way. Usually I have the fan on, pulling the moisture and the steam away from my cabinets. Pin's about to drop. There we go, the pin is dropped. It is now safe to open. Here's another tip for you guys. If it's ever stuck, sometimes it'll be sealed together. If it is, just give her a shake. And in this case, it is. And there you go. She pops free if you get a little shake. And there we go. Here's the first look. You can see the rice. I'm going to show you another tip. I'm going to turn this sideways a bit. These handles on the side also hold the lid. That rice should be perfectly cooked. It might be a little bit soft, but that's okay. Yeah, it looks pretty nicely cooked. Okay, I'm going to stir this up, and then I'm going to show you guys the final ingredients and how it turned out. Now for the good stuff. The cheese. Crumbled bacon. And we stir this in. And this is the completion of this cooking. Yeah, so like I said, everything happens in one pot. And you saw me cook ground beef and saute onions and garlic together. Then you saw me pressure cook it with rice to cook the rice. And then afterwards I throw my cheese in. And wherever else, I mean, like if you're making other recipes, you know, there's going to be obviously different ingredients used, but, you know, there's a process to it, but you can do it all in one pot and have very minimal cleanup. What do I have to clean up? I have this to clean up. I have this to clean up. And in 4 or 5 days when this food's done, I have to clean up this here, the liner, the lid for the Instant Pot, and the silicone lid that I'll use when I put it in the fridge, because I'm just going to leave it in here and put it in the fridge. There you go. I'm going to let this cool for a minute, and we're going to see how this turned out. Okay, it's the moment of truth after all that. I've never made this before. Let's have that first taste to see how it goes. This looks like it's really hot. Oh yeah. And that's what I call a success. Now I can eat like a champ for days. Just turned out quite well. It's nice and bacony, it's cheesy. The rice gives it some nice fillingness. Champ likes this. I think some hot sauce would go well with it. Well, there you have it. That was a good demonstration of the Instant Pot. You got to see how sauteing works. You got to see how you set it up for pressure cooking. You got to see how it warms up the pressure cooking and how it stops. And then at the end, I explained the difference between quick release and natural release, because a lot of recipes will call for it. And it's something you should not be confused about. And afterwards, I tasted the recipe for the first time. And that was legitimately the first time I ever made that and tried it. And I liked it. And I'll make that once in a while for sure to switch things up. You know, it was an impressive recipe, I thought, for as simple as it is. So I think the Instant Pot is a fantastic device. And as a single guy, it's fantastic. It saves a lot of time. It gives me a lot of time to do other things that I'd rather be doing, which is fun. But you know, if you were a family person and you were cooking for your family, this is a great device too. It's easy to make meals every day. There's some meals that you can put prep time into. There's some meals that are just quick dump meals, and you know, dump a bunch of things in, turn it on, and 40 minutes later you're all eating something great. You know, it's great for whatever you want it to be. You can make things complicated. You can keep things simple. You can make a simple dessert. You can make a fancy dessert. Whatever skill level you want to push yourself to, that thing is a handy tool. And I totally give it 2 thumbs up, because I honestly use it all the time. It's replaced most things that I use. I haven't used my slow cooker once since getting the Instant Pot. And like I said, I probably don't even use my oven more than once every 5 weeks. And I used to use it a couple times a week easily, and the stove. The only time I use the stove now is spaghetti. So there you go. So yeah, I think that thing's a crucial tool for a single person especially, single dude like me, more especially. But I think if you're a family person, it will also fit in perfectly. Your kids will love the meals it can make, or your husband or wife or whoever you live with. And if you want to venture into making things like cheesecake, that was a pretty foolproof way of doing it. And I'm telling you, it was the most amazing thing I had. And I think I'm going to make one for my birthday when I'm off next week. That's how much I liked it. So once again, Instant Pot, 2 thumbs up. And before we end this episode, I have to mention last week. I apologize, guys. I keep picking fights and I keep getting them right. You know, Pierre wants me to punish myself, but sorry, dude. That can't happen. It just can't when I'm right. And, you know, I went against most experts and picked Anderson Silva to win that fight. You know, I gave you guys my reasons, you know, citing that Chavez has ethics problems and and that I didn't like that he came in overweight, and that would probably be significant. And you know what? It was. But Anderson Silva put on quite a showing last week, and that was something that was completely unexpected. The guy is 46 years old. He looked fantastic as a boxer. He looked a little awkward with some of his punches and attacks, but he was out there and he got confident, he got comfortable, his timing was crazy. He was unpredictable. He was confusing Chavez with his movement and his trickery. You know, he had good rigmanship. He was able to move around and go whatever direction he wanted. He even went against the ropes and called him in. Like, you know, Anderson looked fantastic out there, and I was really impressed with his reactions and movement and ability to control the fight, really. And, you know, that's just as an MMA guy coming over to boxing. But then you look at the fact that he was 46 years old and he did that against a guy that was 11 years younger. Truly remarkable. That was one of the most remarkable sporting things I've seen in my life. And I think that was the best showing of anybody transitioning over to boxing in a crossover fight, at least from MMA. Anderson showed what a true champion is, and as a fan and as a champ, I'm proud of the Spider. He did a great job. So congratulations, Anderson Silva. That was a fantastic fight last week. And again, I apologize. Everybody wants to see me lose, but you know, what can I say? I've won like 8 in a row or something like that now. But I'm sure it'll happen soon. I'm sure I'll lose a bet and I'll have to do punishment for you. But until then, what can I say? Anderson Silva's a great, and he made me look good. So make sure you subscribe. Check out last week's video where I picked Anderson Silva to win among the 2 other fights that were correct. Check out this video here. We'll see you next week, maybe with some more exciting picks, or maybe we'll take a week off. We'll see. Or maybe we'll do something else. Tune in and find out.